listen, I'm going to say this. Maybe nobody will agree with me, but what was Howie Roseman going to say at the press conference regarding the linebackers? Nakobe Dean is a bust. He stinks. All our linebackers stinks. We got none. I did a horrible job. Of course he wasn't going to say it, even if he agrees. Remember this. Forget what they said at the press conference. They weren't going to give us anything. But when Howie Roseman has aggressive off seasons, the Eagles win a lot of games. Dallas still stinks. Way, Dingbat here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. So the Eagles are still looking for an offensive coordinator. They had a press conference yesterday that absolutely answered nothing, but I am going to put a little different spin on this press conference. I am going to say that maybe we are all just overreacting a little bit. Not because of what they said or because of what's going on or because they hired Vic Fangio, but maybe, just maybe, the Eagles got something up their sleeve. Now, I'm going to get into it in a second, but before we do that, all I got to say is this. Dallas still stinks, all right? They stink, all right? I just want to put that out there so we all can feel just a little bit better. They choked in the first round of the playoffs again. 48 points scored on by Green Bay. This team cannot get to the championship game. Dak Prescott, all these great stats, all season long, all we heard about him, gets to the playoffs, pick six, what do you expect? So we just had to get that out because I feel like we need some positivity here, you know what I'm saying? So, all right, here's what I'm going to say. I listened to that press conference yesterday. I thought it was a press conference basically how I thought it was going to be. And I thought it went kind of like no questions really answered, except for the fact that Nick Sirianni is not going to call his offensive. He's not going to have any control in the offense or the play calling on either side of the ball. So he basically lost power. The other thing about that press conference that kind of concerned me at first, initially, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking maybe it's not so bad. And I'm talking about Howie Roseman's response to the linebacker position, because that was really, really interesting, okay? I'm going to say this right now. Depending upon what the Eagles do at the linebacker spot, especially the linebacker spot, I think it's going to tell us all we need to know about how good this team's going to be. Because the one thing we can say, you might not like Vic Fangio's scheme, and I personally, I don't, but he's here, he's a defensive coordinator, and I'd rather have him run his scheme than other people trying to emulate what he does. Let him do it. But Vic Fangio puts emphasis on linebackers. He likes linebackers. He needs linebackers. All right? So he is going to want linebackers. And can we really, and here's my spin on this press conference, right? Do we really think that Howie Roseman was going to get up on stage and say great things about the linebackers? Or, I'm sorry, bad things about the line. Well, you know what? Well, I'm all over. Let me show you what Howie Roseman said and what has a lot of people fired up and worried.
It was good, from those guys. And I think, if anything, it's my belief in the players that we have, the young players that we have. I have a lot of belief, and I know Coach does as well, in Nakobe Dean, and so I believe in the player, I believe in the person. We lost two linebackers at that spot, two good players from our Super Bowl team. And we had Nakobe wait in the wings. We drafted him for that role. Obviously, it didn't work out perfectly for him this year. That doesn't change the belief we have in the player. And then, we felt like we'd have the ability to get an off-ball linebacker, a will linebacker who can run and hit. And honestly, when you watch the tape, Zach Cunningham had a good year. He really did. And he had a mentality that we liked from that position. Of course, we missed some of the guys that left as free agents. Missed some of the guys on and off the field that we had strong relationships with.
Okay, so when you hear that, the first initial reaction is, they're not going to do anything about the linebacker position. They're totally okay. They think they could just get a guy like Cunningham, just get him off the streets in preseason every year. No problem, no big deal. And, the thing is Howie was going to have to say that. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, Dean is a total bust. All these other guys we got off the street, they were horrible. We let T.J. Edwards go and made a huge mistake, which they did. It was a huge mistake, but they already know. I think it was all smokescreen. I honestly am telling you guys, I don't think we should put much emphasis on most of that press conference. Most of that press conference was a lot of hot air. It was a lot of bullcrap. All right? The press conference was this. We're going to show you that Nick Sirianni is still the coach. Yet, Nick Sirianni isn't really the coach. Well, he's the head coach, but he's got no control, right? They basically show and decide Nick Sirianni. And Nick has no choice if he wants to keep his job, so he's going to go with it. And listen, there are coaches out there who don't have anything to do with the play calling, and they do a fine job. Maybe that's his strength. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. But I think we're all looking at that press conference. We're taking everything, and we're acting like, oh, man, this is going to be bad. The linebacker position is going to be bad. I actually think that with Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator, and I know, we all know how bad Howie Roseman wanted Vic Fangio. I think Vic Fangio is going to have a lot of power to choose or to tell them to go out and get linebackers. If it was me, I would take my 2 second-round picks and I would draft 2 linebackers. Seriously, it's kind of like similar to the running back situation. Last year, if you don't like to pay running backs big money, then draft them so you pay them rookie salary money, and then you have them under contract for 4 years. Why not? Why not draft 2 linebackers with your 2 second-round picks and develop them? Now, I'm not going to sit there and trash Nakobe Dean. I don't think his career is off to a good start. A lot of injuries, and when he's played, it hasn't really showed me anything. But I'm not going to say it's impossible he can't come around. But at this point, it doesn't look good. Either way, draft 2 linebackers in the second round. We haven't done that in a while. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And I think Vic Fangio should have a lot of say in who they do. I mean, he was a linebacker coach. He's got good linebackers where he's been. He puts value on it. He put emphasis on it. So what I'm saying to you is, as everybody is negative and crushing and hating on the press conference, I'm telling you, it was all bullcrap. It was all hot air. They weren't going to give you anything real about their plans this all season. I think they should go and draft Jemriah Trotter Jr. That is my number one target. That is the guy I want. That is the guy. I don't care if he's not a first-round pick. Get him in the second round. But I want him. I want him bad. Bad, I want him. Pause. You know what I'm saying? So, the Eagles have to address the linebacker spot this year. If they don't address the linebacking spot, it's going to be the same old defense. It will be exactly the same. It won't change much at all. They got to put some resources in linebacker. And here's the other thing, and I said this in my intro. The Eagles are more successful and have more wins on the years that Howie Roseman is most aggressive. If you really look at it, when Howie is more aggressive, the Eagles tend to get more wins the following year. I think Howie is going to be extra aggressive. I don't think they were super aggressive last year. I really don't. I think they sat on the fact that they had 2 first-round picks. They were happy that they got Jalen Carter. They pulled the DeAndre Swift trade out. But if you really look at it, they didn't do anything. They weren't that aggressive in free agency, and they really couldn't be. They didn't have a lot of money. They're going to have a lot more money to work with. So I'm expecting Howie Roseman to be a lot more aggressive. And in the past and in recent history, when Howie Roseman is more aggressive in free agency, the Eagles come up with more wins. So that's something to keep in mind and really look as a barometer as to where this team might go. Okay, because they've got they've got, people are crushing this team. I've been crushing this team. But don't make no mistake about it. I believe this team is talented. That's what's so frustrating. I believe this team should have been the number one seed in the NFC. I think we should be playing this week. This weekend. This team's got that talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So we've got to me the right offense, but on the defensive side of the ball, you can't ignore positions like the linebacking position. You just can't ignore it. You can't. And they've got to go out and put resources. Now, if they don't want to go spend big money in free agency to get linebackers, then use 2 second-round picks and get 2 linebackers that will be there for at least the next 4 years. That's what we need, and we need it bad. Okay? But I do think this team, I do think they're going to be aggressive. I do think Howie Roseman is going to be. And when Howie is aggressive, the Eagles win games. It goes together. Just look at the past history. So that's what the Eagles need to do. I think the number one target to me is you got to get linebackers. You've got to upgrade your linebacker. I think in this system especially, you need linebackers. So if you want to know, are the Eagles going to win more games than not next year? We'll see, depending upon the aggressiveness of Howie Roseman, right? But and we're going to talk a lot about players. There's already a lot of rumors about players connected to the Eagles. I haven't even got into it yet because I still got to see who all the coaches are, okay? But we're looking for an offensive coordinator, and one name that just came up is Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore came up. Could you believe this? Jacob Sports, shout out to them. They posted this on Twitter. The Pound Eagles requested an interview with Kellen Moore for their offensive coordinator position per at Tom Pelissero. Now, here's the thing. I have mixed feelings about this. My first reaction when I hear his name is, we don't need that Cowboy stink. We don't need that Cowboy stink here. We don't need it. But he is regarded as one of the bright, young, offensive minds in the game of football. Now, if you look at last year, the Chargers didn't look that good. Herbert didn't look that good. I mean, I know he got hurt at the end of the year, but he didn't look that great. And then if you look at, when he was with Dallas, the Cowboy fans couldn't wait to get rid of him. I personally think that he took a lot of blame for the Cowboys stuff and their failures. They have a coach that is a choker. They have a quarterback that is a choker. So what's the guy going to do? I don't personally. I would probably interview him, but I'd probably pass. There are other coordinators out there. However, I sometimes think when he was with Dallas, he got a little too much blame. But that's just me. The coach for the Cowboys, McCarthy, I don't think he liked his offense. I don't think he thought he ran enough. So are the Eagles going to bring him in and then throw every down or what? I don't know. I think Kellen Moore, I'm kind of like, I would probably like to pass. There are other names out there that I'm more interested in, okay? So we'll see where they end up. But Kellen Moore is the latest guy to be interviewed. I'm sure there's going to be more names. Probably as soon as this video comes out, there's going to be announcing new interviews, and we'll talk about those too. They got to get this right on the offense. This offense is too talented, too good. They got too much talent to not be able to put up big points and big yards every week, okay? And they've got to find somebody that could keep developing and helping Jalen Hurts to reach his maximum potential. And, I know they're getting crushed in the press for the presser, and there was a lot of BS and not a lot of stuff answered and a lot of, talking around circles. But the way Howie answered the stuff about the linebacker at the end or like during it makes me think that they're going to go linebacker. Or they're going to go heavy at linebacker, because Howie Roseman tends to do the opposite of what he says a lot of time. And he wasn't going to give us anything real in regards to that. What was he going to say? Nakobe Dean's a bust? He's not going to come out and say that. So what are we talking about here? What are we expecting here? No. When Howie Roseman is aggressive, the Philadelphia Eagles win games. Just remember that. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it is Howie Vision, baby. We're all just living in it. Listen, I'm going to say this. Maybe nobody will agree with me, but what was Howie Roseman going to say at the press conference regarding the linebackers? Nakobe Dean is a bust. He stinks. All our linebackers stinks. We got none. I did a horrible job. Of course he wasn't going to say it, even if he agrees. Remember this. Forget what they said at the press conference. They weren't going to give us anything. But when Howie Roseman has aggressive off seasons, the Eagles win a lot of games.